This is an editorial in Hustler magazine, and it was sent to me April of '84. I was up in D.C. Mr. Flynn had just helped me in a campaign to replace Congressman Dr. Larry McDonald that I had written about in a medical malpractice when Mr. Flint was shot, by the way, in Lawrenceville, Georgia, near Marietta, where I lived in Georgia, doing the book. And I had a letter from the FBI, June the 23rd, '79, ongoing investigation, national security involved. So Mr. Flint was shot by a program shooter, and the title of my book was MD, A License to Kill, but it was about putting chips in heart bypasses and root canals and anywhere else they want to. And they've been doing it back before 1963 and using mind control and hypnosis since the Tesla files at least were stolen in 1930, where you can create an illness or cure it. So the ones that I spoke about, the murders using mind control, were done in patterns, and you can prove it. And by the way, I want to say this to well, I'm not going to direct it to them, but the motive is not in Mr. Stephen Paddock's mind. And you won't scan his mind, I don't suppose, and find that he's under mind control. The doctors know it, and I've put this up. I've done videos for the last 4 years because I couldn't get an attorney to touch anything, and I've been kept homeless and penniless. And a friend told me to put it up on YouTube, and I was already on Facebook, so it's all been up there. The media has all known this way back. I'm just going to mention this one thing. I was kidnapped in '41 at age 2 and brought to this family who are gussied up here. It was a pigsty. This woman had twins born out of wedlock. One was Peggy Ann Dempsey, and that's the name that they gave me when they put me there. They had killed her 2 weeks prior to my being there, so this was planned. She had killed Carl a month after he was born, so I'll let it go with that. But this is part of what happened to me. I was kidnapped from Buckingham Palace. It's who my father is and the lies that they're told about him. Anyway, there were crimes being committed there, and I've just put some up continually. That's Sandy Hook. The young man killed his mom, supposedly he was programmed to, and then the children, and then there's James Holmes, the grand Aurora, Colorado, being treated for mental illness when he's programmed. What a joke. I said on the other tape that I'm going to put up in several more that they couldn't find a motive because the motive in Mr. Paddock mine is in the programmers. He didn't have a motive. It's their motive. And part of it is instant messaging. Where it happened, when, what it dates back to, etc., etc. And I can tell you what. I don't know if it'll come about, but it should be just about over. I don't know. It may continue, but I know what's been done to me here the last couple, well, last month. Anyway, they're trying to say now that Mr. Paddock must have had an undiagnosed mental illness. If that isn't the biggest crap I've ever heard, and I'm going to say it because it makes me so angry. If you ever ask the psychiatrist, the mental health, if this is ever told, the truth, the media controlled by the Rockefellers and Rothschilds, Kennedy clan, they helped in my kidnapping. What are you going to do, the public, when you've allowed all this to happen? Because the media, I've told it here, everybody in Roanoke, Virginia, the Virginia Tech shootings was a program shooter. And they're done in patterns. Now I'm going, and you can prove them, and I'm going to go ahead and say, and it's, well, no, I'm not either. Anyway, I am going to put this one up because it angers me that now they can't find anything else. So they're going to now, they couldn't find any sign of illness, mental illness on paddock, so now they're going to make it up. Must have been misdiagnosed. Well, it can be diagnosis murder, like the series with Dick Van Dyke. You can be diagnosed with mental illness. It's a total friggin' lie. Anyway, I wrote the book and was almost killed for it. April Fool Day of 80, and that's just part of it. I wanted to mention this, though, because Tim Kaine was former governor of Virginia. And this is when he was with Hillary Clinton. By the way, I just saw Miley Cyrus hugging Hillary. She's all the rage these days, unless you do her bio, and man, it's a doozy. I mean, the murders, the kill, not just Vince Foster. There's a whole list bordering on, last I looked, about 80. I'm not kidding you. So where are you, John Q. Public, enjoying the world and just letting it fly on by as long as you're living good? Well, this is Jens Zorings. I had a picture of him, but I'm just going to show this. It was Jens Zorings, German diplomat's son, and he was charged with murder of Elizabeth Haysom, his girlfriend or classmate at University of Virginia in Charlottesville, of the murder of her parents. She's Canadian, he's German, and they've both been locked up. And everybody here knows this. They did back then. This is when, I'm going to put this because this was said to me, and I hope it's time to turn around. Jens' attorney even made a point of saying that if he represented Jens, he would lose his practice, and he did. They went after him with Internal Revenue did, and last I heard, he was on the streets down in Florida. This is a reputable attorney that represented Jens in the trial. Okay, so anyway, Jens made the comment, these yokels. Okay, there was something said to that. That's like a key word. Now, Tim Kaine was running mate Hillary Clinton. I'll get back to that. In the presidential election, thank God she didn't get, elected, etc. He, before his tenure was out as governor, a few days before, he pardoned, well, he didn't pardon him. First of all, they are victims. They did not commit the crime, and they're done in patterns. This young man and her are probably, if the truth's ever told, clean cut you could ever find. Now then, if I can keep it together here, it's been a long haul, and I mean, I've been through just about every gauntlet there's been, trying to stay alive. Hope I find my children and they're okay, and I have a few days before I die with them. So where was I? Tim Kaine. Okay, before his tenure was up a few years ago as governor of Virginia, he said he was going to he signed the release for Jens Zorings so he could go home and spend the rest of the time in German prison. When they the next governor overturned it, and his name was McDonnell, Donnell. Now, he was put under investigation and found guilty, him and his wife. Guess I'll turn it around here. And I think they didn't have to serve time, though. I don't know what happened there. I think it was overturned or something. But anyway, he didn't set Jens free or release him to go back to Germany. It's the comments that Tim Kaine made during the presidential election when he was a VP, vice president for Hillary, that he made the statements, well, we thought we would send him back and let the Germans feed him and take care of him. He's an innocent man. What an insult, Tim Kaine. My God, and you and all the former governors know this mess. Oh, yes, you do. Now, I want to put this. Jack Hartsfield, bless his soul, I hope he's still alive. He was a reporter for the Huntsville Times in 1980 when they almost killed me, and I was illegally taken across the straight line to Huntsville and passed a background check. What a joke. for Fred Simpson, the district attorney, to work in his office, and it was done by Sheriff Patterson. So anyway, Jack saved my life. Let me put it that way. You can't believe all the things that happened that were illegal, criminal, that has been done to this person and my kids, my father and mother, and my country, but personally, right here in front of everybody, plain sight. Atlanta, Huntsville, here, you name it. Okay, Jack wrote me a letter. He saved my life. He worked for the Huntsville Times, but he was undercover FBI. They even brought in Salvador Verzini, a former FBI, to help save my life during that time. He wrote a book and got it published. I found a copy. It was a small book, but an older, but it said if he told what he knew, they'd kill him. So now then, he was sent there as head of police, replaced the former one when I was almost killed. And I worked for Fred Simpson, and it's ongoing what they did. But he's FBI, Jack is, Hartsfield. He's undercover for the paper. He also was undercover, let me see if I can find it here, for the New Mexican News, and that's about the time I was finding out about my real name in '83 after I was out at Larry Flint's, that who I am, and my mother is Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, Windsor, and my aunt is George O'Keefe, the artist that owned Ghost Ranch, where they've made some movies there with the 007, oh gosh, Craig, geez, I should have looked. I know his name as well as I do mine. Anyway, I have to use the name of a dead twin, Peggy Ann Dempsey Childers. Okay, this is Jack. People will call it crazy. You know, back then, this is Jack Hartsfield. He's a uncle or a nephew to Hank Hartsfield, the astronaut who was commander of the shuttles, a couple of them. He was born and died in Alabama. Now, here's Jack. He's an FBI undercover. He's got all this stuff, and they won't print it for him. He saved my life. He did. But I'm going to read this part. He was out in '83 in New Mexico next to Albuquerque, where Ghost Ranch is, and my aunt and I was finding out then. That was after the campaign. I want to mention this. In my judgment, well, let me skip to this. It may come as a surprise to you, but I did share a lot of this with Larry Flint last year. You may already know that. And I have made approaches with data to a lot of others, some of the publishing business, some in the movies, and frustrated is I can't gauge the headway. My ears to the ground listening for thunder of buffaloes, encouraging to me to keep punching. Why? I have intentionally made it very clear that one or two individuals have some of my materials, and everything I ever done with this stuff is in triplicate and stored separately in a case somewhere. Thought lopping off my head would make any difference. Truth is, something like that is only opening Pandora's box, and I'm reading this fast. And I want to put this. At quiet moments, I do try to make a grounded assessment of all the above. If the dastardly events above, particularly as related to the FBI's Division 5 and assorted shenanigans, were public, what would be the results? It could perhaps be very destabilizing for the nation as a whole. He's also mentioning my kidnapping is what he's meaning here, too. It would really get the Huntsville experiments, the agony of 1963, the aftermath in clandestine Huntsville. Well, JFK helped to kidnap me. I ain't no public, this is Jack's letter, I ain't no public enemy number one. I recall being told once of an individual who referred to me in the Huntsville in this way: the last thing we need is some red-blooded all-American boy waving the flag and calling it like it is. Still, he meant telling the truth. Still, I keep trying. And that's from Jack.